This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday, December 9th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the state of Texas files a court challenge to the presidential election, saying 4 states violated the Constitution. We're going to hear why the state says other states did the wrong thing, but will the high court take up the case? We'll have to consider that as well. With coronavirus deaths surging and even set to increase, there's hope as the U.S. is set to approve a vaccine. What would a Biden administration impact have on Israel and the Middle East? We're going to take a look at that and what it would mean for Iran's nuclear ambitions. We're also going to talk to our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem. And a rare phenomenon is coming in the skies. We're going to tell you about the Christmas star, which will be appearing soon for the first time in 8 centuries. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with the latest over the court challenges to the presidential election. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has filed a lawsuit at the Supreme Court against 4 other states: Wisconsin, Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. The suit says that officials in those states violated the Constitution by changing election procedures, something that state legislatures are supposed to do.
It is the responsibility of state legislatures, per the Constitution, to set the rules for election of electors. And in this case, those were overridden in the 4 states we're talking about, were overridden by other officials, whether they were judges or other governmental officials. And that's not the way our Constitution works. And that's the challenge we have in front of the court. Can this be overridden by people who are not responsible under the Constitution for doing this?
Several other states support the lawsuit. The suit could potentially change the outcome of the elections in all 4 states, switching them from former Vice President Joe Biden to President Donald Trump, and those states have until Thursday to respond. But observers question whether the court will take up the case that could swing the presidential election. I want to turn now to the coronavirus. Deaths from COVID-19 have soared in the United States, reaching more than 2,200 a day on average for the first time on record. And the situation is likely to get worse due to holiday travel and celebrations from Thanksgiving, Christmas, and of course New Year's. Virtually every state is now reporting surges, but at the same time, a vaccine does appear to be just days away from getting the go-ahead. As at his vaccine summit at the White House Tuesday, President Trump signed an executive order giving Americans first priority for U.S.-made COVID-19 vaccines. Meanwhile, former Vice President Joe Biden is outlining steps he would take to control the virus in his first 100 days in office.
At least 100 million COVID vaccine shots into the arms of the American people in the first 100 days. 100 million shots in the first 100 days.
He also pledges to sign an order requiring masks in all federal buildings, and he's aiming to see most schools in the country open again. The recent surge in coronavirus cases has led California leaders to implement new stay-at-home orders. They are the most restrictive measures since Governor Gavin Newsom imposed a statewide stay-at-home back in March. However, a California judge on Tuesday ruled against Los Angeles County's ban on outdoor dining, calling it arbitrary. But because of the state's new lockdown order, for now, outdoor dining is still banned. And as Mark Martin now reports, many small business owners and churches are pushing back.
Soaring infections in California are driving the number of hospitalizations to around 10,000. And the impact of these new rules is expected to hit more than 30 million Californians. The new stay-at-home orders ban indoor and outdoor dining at restaurants, close salons, and impose restrictions on social get-togethers. The goal, curb the number of coronavirus infections and hospitalizations. Small business owners question the extent of the measures.
Well, it hurts us, definitely. From a sales perspective, we can't serve outside anymore. So it's a little bit disappointing that we would be the ones to get shut down, where we've worked so hard to get to a safe place for our clients. One LA restaurant owner's plea for help has now gone viral. Angela Marsden voiced her frustrations about the latest lockdown and explained how she and other business owners are struggling to survive.
This is dangerous. Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under. And we need your help. We need somebody to do something about this.
The new rules also ban residents from getting together with people outside of their households. On Sunday, California reported a third day of record COVID cases, with infections going over 30,000.
I think across the board, you're seeing a lot of small businesses struggling to navigate the pandemic, struggling to understand what their state regulations are, and then really waiting on the federal government to pass relief that will support them and help them. Our most recent survey was in mid-October, and 1 in 3 small businesses said they wouldn't be able to survive the next 3 months without federal relief.
And during the holiday season, it's especially tough.
This is the busiest time of the year for restaurants. Generally speaking, I would say a lot of people would normally be getting together or having holiday parties. So we've lost all of our private party business. We've lost all catering business.
California churches are also pushing back against prohibitions on indoor services. Attorney Matt Staver, the founder of Liberty Counsel, is arguing a case on behalf of Harvest Rock Church in Pasadena.
These restrictions of no worship that cover 99% of California actually go as far back as July the 13th. And the no worship also includes no worship in your home or Bible study in your home with anyone who doesn't live there.
Reports indicate some law enforcement officials don't plan to aggressively enforce the rules. They say they're going on the honor system and counting on residents to voluntarily wear masks and social distance. Mark Martin, CBN News.
Coming up, one region of the world where the Trump administration has had a profound impact has been the Middle East. But what would a Biden approach be like in that key part of the world? We're going to take a look at what the Biden administration might do when we come back. Stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. A Biden administration would mark a profound change in the way America approaches foreign policy, and certainly in the Middle East, where the Trump team has radically changed the situation in the past 4 years. Chris Mitchell brings us this story now from Jerusalem.
Sunday marked the third anniversary of President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. To celebrate, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu put Trump's declaration alongside President Harry Truman's recognition of the newly born state of Israel in 1948.
These two historic proclamations will never be forgotten. They'll never be forgotten by the Jewish people and by the Jewish state. They will be cherished for generations.
However, there are concerns that some of the advances made by the Trump administration could be changed or even reversed. So far, Joe Biden has indicated he would likely keep the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem if he becomes president. But what about other Trump policies in the Middle East? Michael Oren is Israel's former ambassador to the U.S.
With respect to Iran, both the former vice president and his running mate, Senator Harris, have said unequivocally that they intend to renew the Iran nuclear deal of 2015. If Iran returns to the levels of uranium enrichment established by that deal, it's not very difficult for Iran to do, and that means lifting sanctions, and that has profound ramifications for Israel in the Middle East.
Netanyahu also noted other positive moves made by Trump on Israel's behalf.
You recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. You recognize Israel's legitimate rights in Judea and Samaria. You proposed a realistic peace plan that acknowledges those rights and maintains Israel's ability to defend itself. You forged the historic Abraham Accords.
Oren believes a Biden administration would not invest in those accords the way the Trump administration has.
I don't think they're going to invest money, for example, in building the Israeli-Sudanese peace, because that belongs to the Trump era. And again, the emphasis will be on the Palestinian issue and not on the Abraham Accords.
On the Palestinian front, Senator Harris has embraced a return to negotiations with the Palestinians and stated, "We are committed to a two-state solution, and we will oppose any unilateral steps that undermine that goal." That signals opposition to building in the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, and restoring funding to the Palestinian Authority. From Tehran to the West Bank, it's clear a Biden-Harris administration would set a dramatically different course than what President Trump has for the past 4 years for Israel and the Middle East. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now for a closer look. So, Chris, how is the uncertainty and power vacuum in the U.S. and Israel affecting the Middle East?
Well, Ephraim, you could say that everybody right now in the Middle East is kind of calculating and watching and waiting. That would include Iran, Saudi Arabia, the Palestinian Authority. For example, I asked Danny Danon, he's Israel's former ambassador to the UN, about this transition period and this vacuum. And he said Iran is trying to take advantage of this period, but said that Israel will do whatever is necessary to prevent Iran from getting nuclear capabilities. And he said he couldn't be more clear than that. So they're keeping a watchful eye on Iran, especially now after the assassination, as you remember, Ephraim, about Iran's top nuclear scientist about 10 days ago. By the way, I just was in Ariel in Samaria, and that's in the West Bank. And right now, what they're doing is they're building around the clock in case Biden does become president and wants to stop the building in Israel's biblical heartland. And that would be a policy likely, too, of Senator Kamala Harris.
What's the number one concern under a Biden administration?
Well, the number one concern, Ephraim, I would say the top three concerns for Israel about a Biden administration would be Iran, Iran, and Iran. So all across Israeli society and the political spectrum, they see Iran as the number one threat. So the main concern they have is if the Biden administration came in, they may even try to punish Israel and soften, the U.S. approach to Iran. And they would remove what's called a maximum pressure by the Trump administration and then re-enter the nuclear deal. And they would actually come from an actually weakened position. And that would put wind in the sails of Iran. Now, Iran is saying right now they may re-enter the deal, but for a Biden administration, they would want reparations from the 4 years of sanctions under the Trump administration. So this is a concern not just for Israel, but for many of the other Sunni Arab nations that are also threatened by Iran. And just this last point, Ephraim, Iran's constitution wants to subjugate not just Israel, but the entire Middle East and then the world. And so that's what their ultimate goals and motivation is.
I understand there are remarkable changes with the Abraham Accords. What are they?
Well, they're remarkable, and you almost see it almost every day here in the newspapers. For example, John Kerry said what's happening right now couldn't happen without the Israeli-Palestinian conflict being solved. There's a well-known video that he actually says it 2 or 3 times. And yet it was announced just the other day that a UAE member of the royal family said that he was going to buy half of Beitar. Now, that's Jerusalem Soccer Club. And, you know, for soccer around the rest of the world, this is really quite an important development. And so they're going to buy half of that. So this is something that you would hardly even imagine. In fact, one Israeli I spoke to, Ephraim, said that if this can happen, then surely the Messiah must be on his way. And so another thing that's happening right now, as we speak, there are Jewish and Arab mayors inside Dubai at a conference. And even some of these Arab conference members are buying products from the West Bank, something the European Union wouldn't do. The UAE has also set up an office here in Tel Aviv. So all these developments, they almost sound like science fiction, but it's happening right now, and it's happening at remarkable speed since the accords were really signed just about 3 months ago. So what I was talking to an expert, they were saying, really, this is a strategic trend in the region, something we're going to have to deal with in some historic development. So, and you could just add one last point here, Ephraim. You know, the Trump administration really did change the whole paradigm here in the Middle East. We'll see what happens if a Biden administration would get in.
All right, CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it. Still ahead, we're taking a look at Chadwick Boseman's final cinematic bow. His Ma Rainey's Black Bottom cast are taking us inside what they call a divine moment on the set. Stay with us.
Before you marry is a bad idea. Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
It's like a great attraction. It starts a chain reaction. When I'm on satisfaction, I love the way this joy makes me move. Yeah, I got that. I dance around because I know it. I move around because I got it. Joy to the heart. I dance around because I know it. I move around because I got it. Joy to the heart. Joy to the
And welcome back to CBN News Watch. The acting world suffered a big loss with the death of Chadwick Boseman back in August. He was famous for playing cultural giants like Black Panther, James Brown, Jackie Robinson, and even Thurgood Marshall. In his final acting role, he helps to get an August Wilson play to film. It's called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Here's a look at the work and a conversation with Boseman's castmates.
I got a friend.
Come on, Levy. You rehearse like everybody else.
I'm gonna get me a band and make me some records. You call that playing music? I know what I'm doing. Go on and fire me, I don't care.
When I got there, they began to say.
Levy, the sooner you understand it ain't what you say, it's what Ma said to count.
nothing about what kind of blood I got, what kind of heart I got beat here. Come on!
Coleman, you play Cutler. Glenn, you play Toledo. And Michael, you play Slow Drag. Tell me what you like most about your characters.
That's a good question. I like it. He's like, all right, nonsense. He's very pragmatic. He's just like, I got to move through all this foolishness. Yeah.
I think that Toledo is a self-taught man. He's self-educated. He taught himself to read. He taught himself to do many things, and I think he's proud of that about himself. So he's a man of a great deal of distinction. He considers himself a distinguished gentleman.
He is. Michael, what about Slow Drag?
I like Slow Drag that he's a bit of a hedonist. He knows how to that no matter what is going on around him, he's going to find a way. He's going to find space to have a good time. He's going to find a way to turn a bad situation good. You know.
Always looking to have a good time.
Good time.
Coleman, there is a pivotal scene in this film, as well as the play. I had the opportunity to see it on Broadway, between your character and Chadwick Boseman's character when it comes to God and the battle over faith. Can you take me inside that scene? What was it like for that to play out, especially in light of all that we now know about what Chadwick was going through?
Well, that scene is, I think that's the pinnacle of a lot of the arguments that we were having in the room. But it's underneath all of it. I think everyone's arguments, everyone's story, it's all underneath it. So I think it's just part of the build that it becomes this question of faith. And I think why it's so resonant is because we all live with that. We all, whether anyone who is a faithful man of God, there's always that little thing in the back of your head saying, well, what if this person's true? What if this person just has challenged me with my faith and laid out the receipts clearly in his language, and it hurts. So that's what that scene is about. And we came at it with so much to let ourselves be a part of it, to bring ourselves into it. Looking in hindsight, I didn't know what Chad was bringing into it. Neither did Michael, neither did Glenn. But we knew that in that moment when we filmed it, and it was a very special moment where he stopped before he could give the rest of his lion's roar of language, because something was hitting him at its core. And I didn't want him to not bring it. So I just kept forcing him to be in the scene and keep going. And so it was just one of those moments that I know that he would do the same for me. I know that Glenn and Michael would do the same for each other. Exactly. That's the kind of actors we are. To get in there with each other, and we were in there, and we refused to let it go. And then it exploded, and then there was a release. We cried, and we just held space for the moment. Sometimes you don't know exactly what's going on, but you got to have some faith that you want to leave room that the divine will reside in the room. And I feel like we left room for that. It was all set up by George C. Wolfe. He set it up for us to leave room for the divine to reside. And when we did that, magic happened. Maybe catharsis happened. Maybe there was a breakthrough, something that Chad needed to let that go, to let that roar out. And he did in that moment. And we all bore witness to it. We all were a part of it. That was all of us. That was these four men in the room together, wrestling with something in our souls that we didn't know was there. So it was powerful.
It was.
Michael, were you gonna say?
It was like a yoke. A yoke was broken for us all emotionally.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, by the way, is playing in select theaters right now, and it is streaming on Netflix. It is for adult audiences. For more stories in the world of uplifting entertainment, be sure to catch an all-new holiday edition of Studio 5 this evening. You can catch Studio 5 tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and of course you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Certainly hope you'll join us. Coming up later this month, you'll be able to see a very rare phenomenon in the skies called the Christmas star. We're going to tell you what it is when we come back. Please stay with us.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Later this month, you can witness a rare event in the night sky that has not been seen in nearly 8 centuries. The two largest planets in our solar system, Jupiter and Saturn, will appear together in the night sky on December 21st to create what's sometimes called the Christmas star, or the Star of Bethlehem. The planets won't actually be close, it'll just look that way to people here on Earth. Forbes.com points out this has not been seen since the Middle Ages. As CBN News has reported, there have been many theories about the biblical Star of Bethlehem. One of them indicates that Jupiter might have been part of that star. And you can learn more about this theory and the possible identities of the biblical wise men at cbnnews.com. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is future. Think on that for a moment and don't be alarmed or be worried, because I may not know what my future holds, but I do know who holds my future. And with my future in His hands and my faith secure in Him, I have no need to fear. His ways and plans are always good. With that word, I encourage you to make this a wonderful Wednesday and be sure to make it a wonderful rest of the week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you for watching. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And we're available for you to reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, make it a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.